It helps if I unmute my microphone. I apologize about that. I'm sitting there talking to myself. Uh, sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. Not a big deal. I also apologize. I do have a cold, so if I have to cough at all during the readings, I'll just go ahead and mute my microphone, as you just saw I can do. I got it. I'm good. Don't worry. If you guys want to share the link around, that's what I'm doing right now. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to do. I'm trying to bring some more people in here. I shared it out to the Discord servers already, and I'm going to share it out right now to Facebook and to Twitter to try and bring some people in here. Yeah. Let's edit that real quick. All right, there. All right, yeah. So we're going to get into it. We got 2 good readings today. I read both pieces ahead of time, as I usually do, just to make sure there's no content in there that'll get me in trouble. And if there is, I just kind of skip past it or, avoid the words, whatever. Usually I haven't had anything too bad. TikTok hasn't gotten mad at me for anything that I've read yet, so I think we should be okay. All right, let's get started. So tonight we've got 2 books. We've got Ransom and Ruin by S.E. Zell and Tales of the Phoenix Reboot by Rowan Trace. We're going to be starting today with Rowan Trace's, so I'm going to go ahead and bring her banner up. And as usual, when I go through this reading, you won't see my my ugly mug. I'll go ahead and I'll hide my camera, and I'll be going through the reading. I'm kind of excited for this one. Rowan is actually the first person to find me outside of TikTok, so that's a good sign. She found me on Facebook as I was advertising for the indie authors, and I'm very excited to get into it. It's almost like a little surprise. What's up, Megan? How you doing? All right, we got a few people in here. I'm excited. Let's do this. So, for the people that just joined, we got 2 readings tonight, S.E. Zell, and I'm going to be doing Rowan Trace's first. Rowan is now on TikTok, but when she first found me, when they first found me, they had only given me the Facebook link, so that's why up there I've got, Rowan Trace on Facebook. I did link their Facebook on my website, so you can find them there. And without further ado, we'll dive right into it. As I said, I do have a cold. I apologize. So if I have to cough during the reading, I'll just mute my microphone. You might just hear a little bit of silence. Should be pretty good. She is correct. All right, perfect. All right. Feel free to discuss in the chat as I'm doing my reading. I won't be looking at it as I'm reading. I'll try to catch up afterwards. Let's dive into it. Let me get rid of myself. You don't need to see me while I'm reading. Adjust the mic here. We'll dive right in. All right, so this is going to be the prologue as well as an excerpt from chapter 1. So here we go, starting with the prologue. 500 years prior to the current time. Zolari, world of Theta. Moriel took a break from his hectic schedule to work in his garden of exotic flowers. It's relaxing for him, a form of therapy he desperately needs. Having his fingers digging in the dirt relieves some of his abundant stress. The process is particularly grounding for an earth elementalist like himself. Being an elder of their race has more downsides than any of their people realize. One is constant worry about those they serve now that humans and Masurians have dramatically advanced in spaceflight. The fragile races keep getting themselves into trouble in the vastness of their galaxy, acting recklessly as toddlers tend to do. The consequences of carelessness and arrogance are lethal when outer space is a part of the equation. Too many of the younglings are finding death instead of adventure. Zolari do everything possible to educate and aid the infant races without disregarding their free will. The efforts aren't always successful. Moriel's ruminations are disturbed by a portal opening inside his warded sanctuary. Amaria tumbles through, falling on the ground beside him. She's a total mess, dirty and rumpled, so unlike her normal state. Black streaks her snow-white hair and coppery skin. The glimpse he gets of her face shows puffiness from crying. Most concerning to him is she's pulsing magic at dangerous levels. She doesn't have the luxury of anything less than complete control of her abilities. The child he raised for 100 years throws herself into his arms, projecting grief with physically painful intensity. He's driven to his knees by the weight of her unrestrained power and emotions. He shields them to the best of his ability, but he's no match for her arcane strength. She sobs gibberish with her face buried against his chest. He doesn't need to understand her words to know what this degree of response means. Something terrible has happened to her family. Her barrage of emotions is so overwhelming he joins her crying fest instead of comforting her. A Praetorian attacked the family estate. Everyone else is dead. Moriel jumps when Masera speaks. He didn't realize the younger man had come through the portal too. Not that he would expect anything else. Wherever Amaria goes, her heartmate faithfully follows. Moriel looks up from his distraught heart-daughter, trying to make sense of what was said. The logical part of his brain understands the words, but his heart refuses to accept the news. Masera has fresh burns on his exposed skin and charred clothing, though he doesn't seem to notice. His focus is on Amaria, not his own condition. Masera moves close enough to grip Amaria's shoulder. The tidal waves of magic rolling out of her diminish to a tolerable level, allowing Moriel to draw a deep breath again and focus on what's happening. The man his heart-daughter loves has strong arcane abilities, though none lend themselves to healing. Moriel takes care of as many of the gruesome injuries as he can. Praetorian burns are difficult to heal by design. It further proves Amaria's mindset that she let Masera suffer when she can cure him. She's the last of her bloodline now. We won't be able to wait for her to have children. Masera's cobalt eyes are glassy, half vacant. He's shell-shocked by the events that led to his injuries. He's trying to process the implications. The couple wanted to wait for Amaria to reach full physical maturity and finish all the fluctuations their bodies go through before undergoing the stressors of pregnancy. She will continue having arcane strength spikes until she reaches the 1500-year mark. If she goes through an extreme spike, the unborn child won't survive her arcane overload. Sadly, Kitamanas women suffer an unusually high number of miscarriages because they're so overpowered. Unfortunately, waiting isn't an option with the rest of his lady love's family dead. The bloodline has to continue no matter how much pain it causes their matriarch. Will you protect me? Or will you protect and teach her as you did me, Tiden? Amaria chokes out between sobs. She has to know her future children will be looked after if something happens to her. I will love her as I have loved you and my own children, Moriel promises without hesitation. Follow her to Adonia? Whatever she needs. You can depend on me, including following her home. He hasn't been back to Adonia in 10,000 years. He chose to come to Zallar as a guide and guardian for the children born here. This is the place that feels like home to him now. But he'll return to his birthplace if that's what the next Kitamanas child needs. His loyalty to that family hasn't wavered once in his 14 millennia of life. He doesn't see it happening in the future either. They're too dedicated to protection of the innocent and upholding good. Amaria kisses his cheek. Domia Tiden. She wipes the tears off her face and arcanely cleans all three of them up. Finally realizing her heartmate is injured, she takes care of that as well. Far more effectively than Moriel could. Masera shelters her in his arms. We have to return. She needed reassurance that you will watch our daughters if something happens to us. Moriel rises from the ground so he can bow deeply to the couple. I pledge my life to guard and nurture your heirs. I remain a faithful servant to the Kitamonis family until my last heartbeat. Amaria places her palm on the back of his head, injecting her gratitude empathetically. She's choking down her sobs again, and her throat is too tight to speak. His pledge takes an enormous burden of worry off her shoulders. Her babies will be loved and protected if she's not around. With the unrest straining Adonia, that has become a stronger possibility than the children getting to spend their first century of life immersed in Zellari culture, learning firsthand about the people their family protects. Moriel feels their portal open before he rights himself, his eyes wide, almost comically at what he finds. He was so focused on the couple, he didn't notice what her power was doing. His garden is overflowing with mature, lush plants that were seeds until her arrival. Magic permeates the area, seeping deeply into the ground, ensuring his gardens will be bountiful for centuries. He smiles to himself as he begins the mental preparations for the arrival of his future charge. He's looking forward to when the next Kitamonis is born. He enjoys their delightful, sunny natures. It's an honor to be the one who molds them into responsible, caring leaders. He forces himself to focus on the good instead of their grief over losing the rest of the Kitamonis family. That will come later. When he can process that he has lost 13 of his past wards in a single moment without his heart shattering. All right, on to Chapter 1, titled Sector 3, Zellari Homeworlds. The strident blaring of a critical incident alarm drags Altmaier from much-needed rest. Bleary eyes try to focus on the displays as he silences the unwelcome racket before it wakes up his wife. AEF Middleton catastrophic damage. Casualties confirmed. Number unknown. Cause Nova. He rolls back over after reading the message, his perplexed brain unable to decipher why he would set an alarm for a human ship or why he received it. The cause wasn't an act of aggression or didn't involve a Zellari ship. Jason Altmaier wraps his arms around his bondmate, surrendering to exhausted sleep. Today marked the 4th anniversary of his granddaughter's death, and while he's grown more adept at dealing with the emotional exhaustion with each passing year, it has never gotten any easier. Their door chimes, and without waiting for an acknowledgement, Magnus Empeth Torek Remiz lets himself in. The aide's intrusion into his private rooms without warning is enough to tell him that something substantial has occurred. Doubly so because he's currently on family leave, and nothing is more important than their family to a Zellari. The only acceptable reason for disturbing him is an imminent threat to their homeworlds. Grand Chancellor, you've been summoned to command immediately. Chief Medical Officer Duvrall has been on Damascus for 5 hours. Torek's voice is tight with concern. The use of their full titles reinforces the severity of what's going on, promptly clearing Altmaier's brain of all confusion. But Damascus is Bravo Team's ship, assigned to shadow and assist Scarlet Graves whenever she's deployed. CMO Duvrall would only go to them in the field if she sustained life-ending injuries. The importance of that critical incident alarm becomes terrifyingly clear. Altmaier is out of bed, dressed, and going through the door in less than 10 minutes without waking his beloved wife. Torek wrote a note for Calais while he was getting ready to let her know where they were going and why he would leave her during their time of grieving. Over 1,000 years of working together have molded the two men into a flawlessly integrated team. Each knows what the other needs to perform at their best. That's something he's immensely grateful for, with his heart and mind heavily focused on his family. The two men teleport to the closest command central entry point. The nerve center of the Zellari military is a sprawling series of beautiful crystal and shiny metal buildings covering 100 square miles of real estate. Most of the structures tower 50 stories above ground, with almost as many subterranean levels. Greenery drapes everything, creating a stunning vista that Altmaier doesn't presently give a damn about. Both men hop in a sleek silver transport pod that delivers them to their destination in minutes. They could be on site in seconds if teleportation were allowed inside the command's perimeter. This is one of those infrequent times that security restrictions grate on Altmaier. He doesn't fall into the minuscule category of people with unfettered access, nor would he want to. The 15 who do make the list have too much weight on them. Altmaier is playing catch-up now because their warlord delayed this notification until it was confirmed to be a critical incident. He uses the travel time to review the current intel they have available on Middleton, growing more concerned with everything he learns. There hasn't been an update from Dr. Duvrall or Bravo team in 30 nerve-wracking minutes. What they do know doesn't make sense. A heavy cruiser has no business monitoring an unstable star. That's a job more suited to research vessels equipped with sensors designed for such events. He feels like he's missing crucial information about how this crisis occurred. He knows Astra commandeered Turla for his trip to intercept Damascus, their chief medical officer pulling a vessel from the Presidential Protection Armada instead of taking his own specialized craft exponentially increases Altmaier's worry. The time difference between what it takes the two ships to travel that distance is less than 5 minutes. He gets a reprieve from his intense emotions when real-time video from a pressurized bay on Turla comes up on his dataplex. A Zellari swarm is tearing the damaged ship apart to reach trapped survivors. They have made astonishing progress in mere hours. Of course, Astra would consider all of Middleton's crew, not just their agent. Catastrophic damage means hull breaches and loss of life support, both of which are quickly fatal in the vacuum of space. Altmaier is ashamed of himself for having tunnel vision. Chancellor! Altmaier glances up at his aide. Torek is pale, his jaw clenched in concern. The impasse plex is turned for Altmaier to view a different video. The icy ball of fear he's fought to control explodes into hopelessness as he watches Middleton being loaded inside Turla. What was previously a long, rectangular, boxy vessel now looks like a child tried stomping their toy flat after twisting it like a corkscrew and folding it in half. The top of the bow is pressed to the top of the stern. You can clearly see the interior of the cruiser, where it's split in half. His heart stutters when he sees the ship's spine is shattered. The strongest, most resilient part of any vessel is in splinters. He cannot comprehend the amount of force required to generate this outcome. He needs to keep going through the data to understand what they're facing. He can't view the clinical information with any degree of comprehension. There were people inside Middleton when it was crushed. Anyone sucked out into space was shredded by the same forces that demolished their ship. There won't be enough left to return to their families for burial. And that's the end of the excerpt. And again, I apologize. I paused it a couple times because I had a cough, so it was a little bit of a rough read, but I really enjoyed it. The world building that happens between the prologue and that excerpt of chapter 1 is just fantastic. It's very well done. And I'm really curious to read further on this to see how the whole sci-fi kind of futuristic along with magic integrates. Oh man, it's really well done. Close out of that real quick, and I'm going to grab myself a sip of water, so I'm going to mute. All right, sorry about that. This cold has not been kind on me. Let me catch up on the chat a little bit. I saw that it was popping up here and there, so I'm going to go back to the promo. Let's see. Growing flowers is what's up. That's right. I thought that was awesome. That was such a cool kind of integration of magic into the world. I really like that. Oh, thank you, Rowan. I really appreciate it. Did I get those pronunciations correct? That's good, because I really thought I was fumbling over them. So, thank you. Yeah, Rowan had a really good emotion put in there. Sorry, still coughing. I apologize. That was really good, and I really enjoyed that. Thank you for finding this, and thank you for allowing me to read it and help you promote this. And I really hope that, this does bring you some new readers, because that was just an excellent piece. So thank you so much. All right. Yeah, good intro chapters. I agree. 100%. I actually did narrate audiobooks, but I don't think that I kind of hold up to some of my favorites. I mean, Simon Vance and Frank Mueller are two of the ones that I go to, and they're just phenomenal. They're beyond comprehension how good they are. So it's you kind of hear them. It's almost like imposter syndrome in its own way. You're like, what am I doing? These guys are just crushing it. And there's so many other audiobook narrators that I hear, and yeah. Oh, no. I'm not sharing you a link, because that is my real name that I narrated under, and got to keep my secret identity up. If you stumble upon them, if you stumble across any that sound like me and send them to me, I will tell you if it's me or not. But I have a feeling you won't find them, because I've only done like 5. So, all right. Okay. We're going to move on. I'll just call you S.E. Zell. I know your first name. I don't know if you want anybody else to know your first name. So I'm just going to say S.E. Zell. About to go Inspector Gadget. Have fun. Good luck. If you find it, I'll be wildly impressed. But also don't find it at the same time. Whatever. Okay, Lainey. There you go. All right. We're going to read Lainey's piece. Let me just water and cough. I apologize. I'm going to go webcam away so you don't have to look at my ugly mug. All right, Lainey. First, I'm going to say, I'm mad at you. You're also giving me a prologue and an excerpt from chapter 1. That's all I get to read. For Rowan's, I got to pick her piece, but she sent me the entire ebook, because she didn't know what to send me. Typically, in that case, I usually just kind of pick the first 2,000 to 2,500 words on my own. But you only said it's not even 2,000 words. This is all I get to read. Now I'm mad at you. So I'll share it with everybody else. We'll go through it. So this is, again, prologue plus an excerpt from chapter 1 from Ransom and Ruin. So give me a second and I'll get started. Okay, prologue, titled The Deva. If I get any of these pronunciations wrong, slap me on the wrist, I guess. Okay, prologue, The Deva. I should have killed you the minute you walked in here, drawled King Bessian of Jessame. The Deva sauntered over to the chair on the other side of the king's desk and sank into the plush cushions before responding. You've had plenty of chances to kill me over the years, Bessian, and yet here I am. I thought for sure when you banished me after your wife's death, that would be the last I'd hear from you. Pray tell, what drove you to call on me after nearly 3 decades? They sat back in the seat, waiting for his answer. Bessian the Conqueror was a hard and unforgiving man. It had pleasantly surprised the Deva to receive a summons from the king of this embittered and war-torn land. In their youth, the two had been close. The Deva had been instrumental in Bessian's strategic marriage and his conquering of the northern territories. They often mourned the loss of those early, bloodthirsty days. Well, that upstart in the Black City, Angerona, what's his name? Adric? He's still calling himself King of Thieves? The Deva felt a sneer of derision cross their face at the mention of their enemy. Of the western half, anyway. Indeed, he said, acknowledging that the Deva ruled the eastern half of Jessame's criminal underworld. Indeed, I've had enough of his posturing. He's an arrogant, irreverent, and spoiled child. He cut off, as if trying to rein in his more virulent emotions. I won't disagree with you, Majesty. Go on. The formality in their voice and the subtle flash of red that lit up the crimson glyphs on their arms told the king he might be better off getting to the point. The Deva already knew all of these things about Adric, and had no interest in sitting around complaining about him. Bessian always had a tendency to stick his nose where it wasn't wanted. His subjects faced some serious neglect, and the king spewed vitriol about a 20-something common thief. I want the boy dead. That's it? Well, not entirely. Of course not. I want him discredited and his empire torn apart. I can't have a commoner, a half-breed no less, thinking he is on equal footing with me. It will give people ideas, and we've only just stifled the Northern Rebellion. The Deva studied the king for a moment, choosing to ignore the racial slur against the people of which they were a full-blooded member, before asking, "When do you want to start?" "Soon," he replied, eyes simmering with malice and a touch of madness. "Before we start the royal progress, by the time we reach Angerona, I want him ground to dust." The Deva smiled. There weren't many people who felt free to express themselves as such in front of them, but Bessian had always been dear to them. Besides, why deny the man when their desires were one and the same? "Very well. I expect the proper payment and reinstatement in your court after the deed is complete." Done. And on to Chapter 1, titled Adric. 4 months later, Adric was sprawled sideways across the arms of his ebony throne. It was a beautifully carved stone seat that he liked to think was as grand as the one that tyrant who called himself king sat on down in the capital. The Stark room was currently empty, except for him. His sister had dubbed it the Vault when it became his base of operations. Iron brackets were bolted to the wall and held torches burning with steady blue flame. The only furniture in the room was a round obsidian table and 4 chairs, including the one he currently draped himself across. His long, jet-black hair nearly brushed the cold floor, and his eyes closed in utter exhaustion as he daydreamed. He would be the last to admit it, but after expending the amount of power he had in the last few months, fine lines had started to appear around his eyes and mouth. He was none too happy with the physical toll, but couldn't discount the fruits of his labor. After months of hard work, the final piece of his plan had fallen into place. All that was left was to set it in motion. He opened an ice blue eye at the sound of the lift grinding to a halt outside the door. A simple flex of the powers that were his birthright would have told him who was about to enter the room, but he was unable to summon the energy. The markings on his arms merely flickered blue before fading back to black. He was by no means helpless, being just as deadly with his bare hands as he was with a spell. But only 4 people alive could even access this room, including him. If they meant him harm, he was well and truly fucked. "I guess the key is complete, then." His twin's voice interrupted the peaceful musings on his own excellence, and he groaned as he sat up. "You look like shit." Adrian grinned as he took the seat to Adric's right. "Yes. It took more effort than I initially thought, but it should be able to get you in anywhere. I have to say, it's probably my finest work to date." He smirked and watched Adrian's cobalt eyes roll. Apart from the slight difference in their eye color and the scars they'd accumulated over the years, Adric and Adrian were identical in every way. Tall, with broad shoulders and jet-black hair. The young men commanded attention wherever they went. Their father used to say that they were too pretty to make it very far in the criminal underworld. Of course, that was right before Adric had battled him to the death for the title of Rogue. Adric won, gaining him the title and a fresh scar over his right eye, while their father gained a new home, 6 feet under the cracked and barren ground outside this forsaken city. And that is all Lainey gave me to read. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is fantastic. I'm already intrigued. But also, I'm still mad at you. Seriously, though, well done. Both both of you, let me get myself back up here. Both of you, that was awesome. I don't know. I don't know how I'll keep up with all of the books that are coming out. My wallet's gonna hate me for that. My wife will hate me probably too, because my wallet hates me. But man, those two excerpts were just fantastic. And absolutely, as always, anyone that was interested in what you read, just go to my website, Live Author Readings. Under that section, you'll see the previous readings. Click on the link and you'll see a link to support both S.E. Zell and Rowan Trace, as well as a link to purchase their books. So absolutely go support them, because those two chapters were just fantastic. I say chapters. Technically, it was 4 chapters. But yeah, seriously. I give up writing. I mean, like, I just write real world stuff. You guys are creating entire worlds, and it's so intriguing and so awesome to read and hear and just dive into. Yeah. Okay, guys. Rowan Trace, S.E. Zell, both obviously, as you just heard, phenomenal writers, excellent world builders, and just really know how to draw you in and build up intrigue. So please go support them. Even if you can't afford their book, go support them on social media, Facebook, TikTok. As I said, Rowan is also on TikTok now. So everybody in here, let's, I know most people in here are kind of between the pages people. Everybody give her a nice warm welcome. Yeah. And she, I think, is most active on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, go give her a follow. And Lainey, I think everybody here knows Lainey. So continue supporting her. Go buy the book. Maybe it'll be the book club's next read. We'll see. Oh, it's on KU. Perfect. Yeah. There you go. Even if you can't afford it, get on Kindle Unlimited. Go read it there. All right. Yeah. And following this, as if anybody knows, by the way, here, on the video, if my hand doesn't disappear, Mel, that's my wife. She stalks me on TikTok. So if you want, go bother her. Megan, don't harass my wife to find those narrations. I'm telling you right now, it's eyes on you. Well, I'm happy to bring you onto TikTok. It's a good community, and there are a lot of people here, as I mentioned, between the pages. So, Rowan, if you don't mind sticking around, following this, and absolutely get yourself an interview, Sean Amick does Between the Pages. Megan is an admin next to him. She's a co-host. They do Writing Wednesdays every Wednesday, and every night they do interviews with indie authors and, up-and-coming authors, published, unpublished, doesn't matter. So if you want to stick around, go add Sean Amick and join the live and check out the interviews. And if you like it, by all means, just click the link in his link tree, schedule yourself an interview, and promote your book even further. I'm happy to help you do that because it is such a great read. No, Megan. No, I'm gonna. Nope. Leave my wife alone. But yeah, okay, guys. I'm gonna hop off now. Give a little bit of breath, and I know that Sean's got his writing sprints right now. Sean, yeah, SHAWN. Yeah, go find him. Go follow him. Like I said, he's got a link tree in there. Click on that. You'll see a calendar link to schedule yourself an interview on Between the Pages. He does a really excellent job. There's a lot of feedback from the comments, kind of like what you see right here. And yeah, you'll get to answer questions. You'll get to do your own excerpt reading if you want to, or he can read it for you if you don't want to. You can go video if you'd like to, although for video on TikTok, you have to have at least 1,000 followers. I'm more than happy to try and help you get there. But yeah, go do it. It's another great way to promote your book, and it's the Between the Pages crew is just a really welcoming and inviting group of people. So I highly encourage it. But yeah, that's it. That's it for me tonight. I really enjoyed these readings. I'm happy that you guys enjoyed these readings. And again, support these two authors because they're doing just absolutely great things. All right, guys. I got to go bug my wife and tell her not to give Megan any information. So have a good night. See you guys later. Bye.